Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm doing my first book video, and I don't know if this will be a regular thing or not, but I have got into reading a lot over lockdown, so I thought I would go through the books that I have read during lockdown. So this is my pile. I didn't actually realise how many it was until I decided to make this video, and I feel like there might be a couple missing as well, but this is what I'm going to go with for the video, so here we go. So I joined a book club at the start of lockdown called Milk and Sugar Book Club, which I'll link down below if any of you guys want to join it as well. So I'll mention which books are from the book club and which ones I just chose on my own. So the first book is Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep, and I love this book. It took me a while, like it's very research based. There's a lot of like factual information, a lot of like studies to read, and it's so in depth. Like I can't recommend this enough. It really changed the way I thought about sleep, and I've definitely gone on to prioritize my own sleep after reading this book, so I highly recommend. And it did really help me get into a better sleeping pattern, which I have now lost and need to get back, so maybe I should read it again. But yeah, highly recommend this one. The next book is the first one from the book club I mentioned. So it was Exciting Times by, I've forgotten how you say her name. I feel like it's something that doesn't look like how you read it, but that's it. I'm not going to try because I'll get it wrong, even though we literally had this conversation in the book club and I still can't remember how you say it. But this book was very controversial, I feel, in the book club at least, because it was just a bit hit and miss really what people felt about it. I personally didn't hate it, but it's not my favourite. I probably wouldn't reach for it again, but I am glad that I read it still. So it's very, I don't know how to say, it's kind of more like not a lot really happens, but the writing quality is good, if that makes any sense. So there's not really a lot of plot, but I really like the style of the way it's written, even though I wanted kind of more to happen, and the end is a bit meh. But yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers away in this video, by the way. I'm just going to give my overall opinion of all of them. So yeah, this was the first book club book. I would recommend you read it if you want to like read something a little bit different. I've not read anything like this before, so yeah, that might be one to consider. Next up we have, there's an ice cream van. Next up is Truman, Capote in Cold Blood. This is another one from the book club. So the book club that I'm in tried to alternate between new books and old books. So obviously Exciting Times is a new book, and then this one is a classic. This book is a classic. I'd actually never heard of it before. I know that a lot of people studied it at like A level or whatever, but I'd never heard of it. I didn't enjoy this, I won't lie. I liked the story. It's also based on like a true story, so that kind of made it more like appealing for me to read, because I knew that it was like true crime. So if you're into true crime, then this is probably a classic that you should get your hands on. It was really cheap, which most classics are, aren't they? But yeah, it took me a long time to read. It's not a massive book, but the writing's quite small, and yeah, it was just like, it felt a chore to read. The chapters are really long. It's not really chapters, it's like sections. I think there's 4 sections in this whole book. So I like a book with shorter chapters, so I can be like, okay, I'll just get through this 1 chapter or 2 chapters tonight and then put it down kind of thing. Whereas this was like, literally this whole book was split into 4, and I just wasn't gonna read all of that in one go. So I did find that a little bit harder to read, but again, glad I did it. The reason I joined a book club was to try and expand my horizons, if you like, in reading, because I feel like I always reach for the same things, and because I haven't been into reading for so long, I felt like it was more important that I kind of branched out a little bit more, because the last time I was this into reading was probably when I was like 14, 15, so obviously those kind of books don't really appeal to me as much anymore, so I wanted to try and read some different things. So this one, not my best book, but recommend if you are into true crime. Next up we have Queenie. So this was around the time when the Black Lives Matter thing sort of originally exploded and everyone was releasing all their BLM authors and book lists that they recommended, and this one really kind of jumped out to me. So the BLM books I have are this one, Girl, Woman, Other, and Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. I have spoken about this one in another vlog, I think, but yeah, these three I ordered together. So Queenie was probably my favourite in terms of like story. I got through this really quickly. It was just a nice easy read, but also kind of opened my mind a little bit into what kind of books that I was reading and choosing. Probably wasn't something that I would choose without having all those like lists going around Instagram things, which I know is bad, but since seeing all of that, I have kind of opened my horizons a little bit more, which again, this one, Girl, Woman, Other, was the book club book of the month, and then there was a whole list of other books that would be like complementary to this one. So this was the main book club book, and then these two were also on the list, so that's why I chose them. This one I really enjoyed. I know this is another kind of controversial one because there are so many characters in this book that they don't all get like the same amount of reading time in the book, if that makes sense. So you kind of learn more about some characters than others, which I really liked how it was written differently in that respect, because I've not read a book with that many characters in before, and it's all like each character does their own perspective, and I really liked how they all joined together at the end as well. Although I do feel like they could have spent more time on some of the characters towards the end, felt a little bit rushed in my opinion. But yeah, if you've read this, let me know what you think, because I know this is another bit of a controversial one where some people really loved it and some people just didn't get on with it at all. So I'd be interested to see what you guys thought of this if you've read it. This is another really quick read. It's quite thick, but yeah, I got through it quite quickly, so really liked that one. And then the third BLM book I read was this one. Again, this is not that big a book, but it's quite a heavy read. There's a lot of facts, a lot of research studies and that kind of thing, and it's just, this book's been out for a good few years now I think, but I only just heard of it again when all of this sort of came to light a little bit more. But highly recommend this if you do want to learn a little bit more about Black history and all of that kind of thing. Highly recommend. The last book I read over lockdown is Sally Rooney's Normal People. Now this one was, obviously I'd heard a lot about it and I just had to read it really. Again, it's quite a short book. I got through it really quickly and I really liked it. I feel like, so my normal like go-to books were, obviously I haven't been into reading for a long time, so the last thing that I was reading was like young adult fiction, and I feel like this kind of fits into that category but at the same time is a little bit more like maturely written. So really enjoyed that. I have also just started watching the series on BBC iPlayer, so I'll be interested to see how that compares to the book, but I haven't got very far with that. I'm only on the like second episode or something. So if you've read this and watched it, let me know what you thought, how they compared in terms of series, and yeah, I'll be interested to see how this differs from the television series. This is the first Sally Rooney book I'd read as well, and I do now want to get the other one, Conversations with Friends. So yeah, that's that one. So that is all of the books I've read over lockdown. Like I said, I do feel like I've missed a couple, so maybe there will be a follow-up video, but yeah, that is it from me for now. So the book I am currently reading is Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, and that was actually August's book club book, which I have not read yet, and I'm finding it really hard to get into. Like I said with this one, I do find it a lot harder to get into older books just because I feel like they don't like resonate with me as much. I find it harder to relate to, and then it's just harder to, like, the language and things I find it harder to get into, and like I feel like I have to really focus on all of it really hard to kind of get the whole, like, really ingest it properly. So that will probably take me a little while to do as well. But yeah, Let me know if you have any book recommendations for me to read next, because now that I'm into it from lockdown and not having as much else to do, I am really into reading and I don't want to let this go, because like I said, the last time I was this into reading was when I was like 14, 15, and I don't want to leave it that long again before I get into a book again. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below if you've read any of these books. I'd love to hear what you thought of them. If you agree with my opinions or not, I'd love to hear it either way. And yeah, see you next time.